And that could only mean one thing.
Is that the spirit of the age? Spirit of the age. 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 Spirit of the age.
Spirit of the Age, as most Hawkwind fans, I would imagine every Hawkwind fan knows, is a track that was originally on Quark's Strangeness and Charm.
Yeah.
Why have you decided to re-record it? Matthew Wright's on this particular version, the TV guy, isn't he?
Well, yeah, he is, and that was the reason why we decided to put it out, because when I went, he was doing a radio station in London, and I went on there, and he said he was a big-time Hawkwind fan, and I said to him, I bet you are, doubting that he was, you know. And he said, yes, I know all the songs. So I asked him if he knew the words to Spirit of the Age, which he did, recited them perfectly, and found that he'd been to Stonehenge, and he was a staunch Hawkwind fan. And then I asked him if he'd like to come and do Spirit of the Age on stage. It was recited as a poem, actually, and also probably, like I say, a lot of people don't realise that he does write some really nice poetry, actually, because he's quite political orientation and so on, interesting character. Consequently, we asked him to come and sing on the album. So there's the story.
I suppose with a band like Hawkwind, you've been in existence for, here we are in 2005, it's 36 years now. Does it ever surprise you, some of the people who come out actually as Hawkwind fans these days? Because I guess there must be a few strange instances like that.
How do you mean, what?
Well, in terms of, so it's amazing how people, it's years ago, people would have said it would have been a guilty pleasure liking Hawkwind, but now...
You weren't in vogue, you mean?
That's right, yeah. But the thing now, a lot of people say, I'm a big fan of Hawkwind. I mean, because Matthew Wright is not, you would look at him and go, he doesn't look like a Hawkwind fan.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm sure there are. In fact, I do recollect, I think it was the head of Lloyd's said he liked Hawkwind as well, so... But it doesn't give us any free insurance, though, does he?
I suppose, though, if you think about some of these people, in their teens, they were probably sat in a field somewhere listening to Hawkwind somewhere down the line, weren't they?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. Lots of festivals that we used to do, free festivals and such, yeah. And as they've gone through life with their children, and believe it or not, their kids come down, so funny enough, and say to us, I used to hate my dad's collection of Hawkwind records, but now it sounds really good, So we've become in vogue again.
I suppose that it's a case of if you're around long enough, you come back into fashion anyway.
I think so. It's like a graph, isn't it? A long-term sort of graph that goes up and down, and then a long line for a while, then it'll peak a little bit here and there. Yeah, I think if you keep going. Now, we just come back from Germany playing a festival with Jefferson Starship, Robin Trower, sort of a lot of old bands, Canned Heat, very interesting sort of lineup. So, and there was a lot of people there. So, lineups like that, people do like to see old bands, I think, because they're pretty good normally. Why
do you think that now Spirit of the Age is right as a single? I can see, personally, I think it's the right time.
Well, it's one of those, the words are relevant, they've been relevant always, because I suppose ever since the ideas of cloning and so on, and more relevant now, of course, well, they would just go on being relevant, because, until they actually get Android sex dolls that do whatever you want them to do, that it will be relevant, won't it?
You're reasonably happy being the founder member of Hawkwind, just continuing. There's been a constant thread of yourself right the way through, and yet Hawkwind have maintained this very high profile within the rock business. What do you put down the longevity of the band to?
Stamina. Oh man, well it fluctuates so dramatically. There are times when you feel like giving up, things go wrong. Music's supposed to be a pleasure. That's the mainstay, and actually trying to do shows that are interesting. Sometimes I think a lot of bands similar to us, you have your good and bad days. If somebody comes to see us one day, we might be sort of mediocre. Next day, we might be fantastic. As that's what it's like if you're a musician. So, and it makes it interesting for fans to see if we can keep that level, I suppose.
The new album, Take Me to Your Leader, it's coming out in the very near future. Here we are, summer 2005. But the album was kind of recorded over a long period of time, wasn't it?
Yeah, we actually did record it, and then we did it all again. Because we were learning how to operate a computer, and we actually sort of recorded a lot of stuff, but it sounded rather sort of wishy-washy, so we did it all again a bit later on as we got more knowledgeable on the computer.
I find that quite odd, actually, because when you think Hawkwind, you think very futuristic, and here you are saying, well, when we worked out how to work the computer.
You know, don't forget, we're barbarians with electronic equipment. I think that's why we're not that genned up, you know.
But you always manage to sort of use the technology to your best ability, don't you?
I think if you use the machine rather than the machine using you, it's very easy to actually get into a situation where you can loop everything, as lots of people do on the computer. I mean, it makes it very easy to play the minimal guitar and loop things, you know, and you end up sort of doing loops that sometimes take hours and hours where you could play in. I mean, it's much more fun playing in.
Let's look at the track Greenback Massacre. I might be wrong here, but I'm figuring there might be a message here with this particular track. I mean, would I be right?
Well, yes, it's written by Alan Davey. I think it's all about the American greed for oil and such, as we all know.
The thing about the Hawkwind that I do like is that there have been occasions when, although people think, oh, they're just a standard rock band or a space rock band, there have been some songs that have had a very pertinent message. I mean, I can go back as far as something like Urban Guerrilla, but I mean, sometimes there must be a feeling, well, I really want to comment on something like this, yeah?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, loads of bands are doing it now. You have to, because what you're trying to put across to a younger audience is, look, what's going on here, you know. I mean, they're all aware of what's going on, and it's up to them to try and change things, you know. I mean, as you get older, you just sort of lay back a bit more. So, I mean, words to songs are a good way of putting across these messages.
Title track, Take Me to Your Leader. Come on, there's got to be a story about that.
A story? Well,
it's a very Hawkwind title for an album, actually.
Yes, well, it was taken from this little doll, that alien doll that I was given, that when you press it, it goes, "Take me to your leader," and that's where we got the title from. But then we did actually write a lot of philosophical words, of course, to go with it all.
Album titles come from the strangest sources, don't they?
I think so, yeah. It's just an idea. I mean, that old sci-fi book, there's one, I can see it now. You remember the old 1950s sci-fi books? They used to have all these girls clad in bikinis striking these poses with some alien monster grabbing hold of them, you know.
The creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah. You know, and that's what Take Me to Your Leader was one of those as well.
Witness the electromagnetic chaos to totality as
reserves. Long weekends of past mistakes. Then experiment with various forms and curious combinations. Perform an abstract act with an objective object. And thereby convey an abstract message in which there is no meaning.
You have some special guests on this album. We've heard the track Spirit of the Age with Matthew Wright on. Arthur Brown is on one of the tracks, a track called Sunray. Actually, it's actually on two of the tracks. Arthur and Hawkwind must go back a fair time.
Well, actually, it was, I suppose, go back a fair time because Arthur's, a continuing artiste, isn't he, really? And we'd actually sort of, our paths had crossed a few times. And I think when he was doing Canterbury Festival was the first time he actually sung with us, when he did Silver Machine there. And then we sort of asked him if he'd like to come and do a tour, which he did. And in fact, we saw him only 2 weeks ago at another festival we were at, yeah.
How do you feel about bringing people in like that? I mean, special guests. I mean, because some bands think, well, okay, it's great. And other bands say, well, we don't really want to dilute the thing and maybe draw attention away from the fact that it's our album.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I think, it's interesting. It makes it interesting for the audience, really, to actually have guests. I mean, if you're going along the same parallels with jazz musicians, I mean, quite often they have different guests coming along. It's good for the band too. It makes the band pay attention sometimes, because, you have to sort of keep yourself together to pay attention to what Arthur's doing. I mean, Arthur still tries to clamber up the side of the speaker cabinets, say, hang on, no, Arthur, take it easy now. He gets carried away. With Lena, Arthur had put us in touch with Lena about doing some vocals with us, and what we did, we sent, I think we sent Angela Android down there, or I should say up there to her studio in Cambridge, and she sent sort of various sort of bits and pieces of her voice back down to us, which we sort of put in as being the Android on Spirit of the Age, and she sings actually on Angela Android.
Again, Lena Lovitch, a lot of people remember the big hit at the tail end of the 70s, but she's got a very unique voice. And how does that kind of fit into the Hawkwind mix, if you like?
Well, quite well, I think. I think she's quite an interesting character as well. And like you say, she had a very individual voice too, and style, of course. So yeah, it makes it a bit more interesting.
this album, more than anything, proves that Hawkwind are a relevant band. I mean, you probably got like everybody, people who knock the band and go, oh, they're just 70s has-beens, they're just old hippies and all that. And yeah, an album like this proves that. It sounds awfully pretentious saying you got the finger on the pulse, but certainly you must be aware of what's going on musically, and I can see where Hawkwind fits into that.
Well, I suppose so. In a way, it's like Crosby, Stills and Nash. They just had their son. I mean, well, they haven't just. A few years, I think it's a couple of years ago, didn't he do? They did a record together, and it was fantastic. You know, you listen to stuff like that. When we're talking about Man, you know, and meeting up with Martin Ace. I mean, they've got their boys playing in the band. I mean, and the band a really good hot band. So, yeah, they're in touch with what's going on, and I think a lot of these bands are good.
I suppose that this begs the question, and it's a question that's been mentioned to other bands. The way that orchestras go on, like the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra carries on with different members. Could you ever imagine a time where Hawkwind could continue, but without any of its original members, maybe in another 25, 30 years? I know it's probably a strange thing to ask now, but I mean, could you ever imagine that?
Yeah. Well, I say yes because, as you know, that there are quite a few bands, like I say Jefferson Starship, we were saying, that only had one original member. But I mean, the thing is, they sound like the original band, and it's not a bad thing because I mean, a lot of people do want to see what these bands were like, and I mean, that's the nearest you're going to get. I mean, there's the Legal Eagles, or the Illegal Eagles, one or the other, you know, that do sort of total takeoff the Eagles show. I mean, they sound just like them.
Is there a Hawkwind tribute band? Have you ever seen a Hawkwind tribute band?
There's quite a few, actually, yeah.
There's Spacehead, which is they do their original material, but they also do some very, very good versions of Hawkwind songs.
Yeah, there's quite a few, yeah. There are. Another one called Silver Machine, I think. Yes, there are a list, actually. I can't reel them all off, but there are quite a few. Actually, I've got a few CDs, send me CDs. Time Brothers from Scotland, another one. They've done the whole of the Space Ritual they did. Their show.
Do you think that's so? I mean, I suppose, yeah, where do you draw the line between being flattered and kind of upset about these things?
Well, I suppose, really. I mean, it's the audience, the people that actually pay. I mean, if you're the original, they would see the original, you know, if you're putting on a good show. I mean, as you know, it costs a lot of money to actually get a big show with a light show. I mean, 4 or 5 people operating lights. We've got dancers. The whole sort of on the road. We go on the road sometimes with roughly about 18 people, you know, which is quite a lot. And obviously they've got to get paid, you know, and you've got to put on a good show. You couldn't do this if you're playing in small clubs.
I'm the major player in this wicked godsend. Late at night I type the crack and the program lets me in. I've met so many friends there on this groovy secret level, where it's full on artificial intelligence. Heaven, heaven, heaven. Going there for days, man, there's always something new. I control so many destinies, I know just what to do. My hard drive is acquainted to an intimate degree. All the sentient life forms in virtual reality. Start off with a map that shows the layout of the land. Zoom in with the microscope to where the city stands. Pick up on the street plan and suddenly you're there. Shops full of collector's items, you got creds to spare.
We're talking to Dave Brock about the new Hawkwind album. The album is called Take Me to Your Leader, and that was a track called Digital Nation. That's, again, another very Hawkwind-sounding title. This album, I suppose, is... I can't remember. I'm sure you probably can't remember exactly how many albums down the line it is. How difficult is it to keep coming up with something that is not only relevant to the band, but obviously going to relate to your audience? It must be difficult after 36 years, surely.
Sometimes. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
It depends on how the creative juices are flowing.
You don't, you know yourself. You don't actually write stuff all the time. I mean, in the course of a year, you might write a lot of songs and different tunes, but maybe at the end of the day, perhaps only use 4. You know, you think of band in general, everybody's got ideas of writing. So at the end of it all, you might write maybe about, I suppose you look at what you got, about 12 numbers or 14 numbers, and then you decide which ones you're going to use for an album and, you know, go on the road with. It's always better to play these things live first before you record them, so they sort of, you know, flow nicely. But quite often we do it back to front, you know, most unfortunate. I think you find most bands do similar things, have the same problems as we do, you know. It's all the same, everybody thinks it's different, but it's pretty much the same.
I remember a conversation Robert and I had underneath those pylons. He was talking about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And I said, what the goddamn is that, Robert? And he said, well, you know, it's the movement of the rules in the times of destruction. I said, the times of destruction? What's that, Robert? He said, well, you know, the coming times that have been presaged by what's going on around us. You know, the existence of terrorism, nepotism, the destruction of our civilization, the chaos rule. I said, well, what on earth is the chaos rule, Robert? You got marching on pretty unsteady ground. What's that? That's a bit of foxtail down. I'm going to tread on that, Robert. I'm well aware of the foxtail, you say, but that isn't the problem today. No. Look, the problem is women. You know, I mean, they're bringing all these moves to put out fox hunting. But no. The real beast is a woman. The real beast is a woman. You know, I mean, they're getting us control of business, control of the home, control of children. Nasty, smashing, pastry-filled women. The washing up, the drying up, the hoovering, ecstatic, the washing up, the drying up. I like to use automatic.
A Letter to Robert. It's another track that features Arthur Brown, I believe. Am I correct in thinking here that this is another possible link to your past here with something to do with Robert Calvis?
Yeah, that was one of those magic moments that Richard and me had actually done the backing track for this. We were mucking around and sort of made up this electronic track. And Arthur came down one day and we were talking about Robert, and we had a sort of a rough idea of what we wanted to do a song about, but we didn't know. And Arthur went off on one of his ramblings, which was a magic moment captured there and then, which I thought was quite brilliant.
So the right place, the right time then?
Yeah, absolutely so, yeah.
I suppose a lot of people do associate Robert Calvert with Hawkwind, and I suppose rightly so. Do you? Here's again another difficult question. Do you think he would have been pleased by the end result himself, or I suppose that's hard to say.
I think he'd be pleased that because he was an artist, that we're still going on doing all this stuff, you know, and also we're doing some of his old songs. We do some of them differently, you know. I mean, I just finished doing the Calvert album actually. That all his poems, putting a lot of his stuff to music, you know, which is totally different to what I've done, you know. I'm sort of talking about the Hawkwind album, of course, but I mean, we've still got Richard and Alan on it, but we've got sort of this black singer from Bristol, Trixie, who's got a fantastic voice, and she does some weird things as well. And I think he would love all that, you know.
Here we are in 2005 then. The album's due for release. I presume there'll be a tour to promote this album.
Yeah, we're doing a tour in December. Liverpool, Manchester, Stoke, London, Astoria. I think it was Solstice actually. London, Astoria on the 21st. Exeter. Where else are we? Don't know. Anyway, it's a few. So,
how much of this album can anyone reasonably expect you to include in the set list? I mean, you have to draw the line between playing the songs that people want to hear, the songs that you guys want to play, but you're kind of tied to promoting the new album as well.
We're doing 3 or 4 tracks. I mean, we've been doing it for the past year. 3 or 4 different numbers, and see how they go. Obviously, we can't do the ones Arthur's not on, but you never know. I mean, Arthur might pop up and perhaps do this story with us. Who knows? Don't know yet, but there's a possibility there.
But at the end of the year, we can certainly see Hawkwind out on the road promoting "Take Me to Your Leader."
Yes, we will. We'll be playing "Take Me to Your Leader," folks.
This recording contains copyright material and is owned by Voiceprint Records and is copyright 2005. If you want to hear the full Hawkwind interview, please go to www.voiceprint.co.uk and click on the Voiceprint web radio icon.